Today, I will be talking to you about John von Neumann. His birth name was Johannes Neumann, but later he was called John von Neumann. He was born December 28, 1903 in Budapest, Hungary, and he died February 8, 1957. He mainly conducted his work in or at the University of Berlin, the University of Budapest, in Zurich, at the Technische Hochschule, which is a university in Zurich, in Berlin, in Hamburg, at the Institute for Advanced Study, which is in Princeton, and the Navy Bureau of Ordnance, and last but not least, in Washington, D.C. His field of study was in mathematics, chemistry, and computer sciences. So names of some of the other scientists that he worked with were Fichte, Weyl, Euler, F.J. Murray, and Oscar Morgenstern. His education started when he was a kid. In 1911, he entered the Lutheran Gymnasium, which was a Jewish school with high academic standards. After he left that school, he intended upon going to college for mathematics, but his dad wanted him to do something that would make more money. So he had the scientist Theodore Carmasian convince him, or at least try to convince him, to do business. Unfortunately, that did not work, so they all settled in the middle for chemistry. He originally attended the University of Budapest, where he got his mathematics degree. He never actually went to any lectures there, although he still aced all of his math exams. At the same time, he got most of his lectures from the University of Berlin, which is actually more where he studied chemistry. He left there in 1923 to get his chemical engineering degree from Technische Hochschule in Zurich. And then he studied under Hilbert at Göttingen from 1926 to 1927, and that concluded his education. Well, at least his formal education. Some additional facts about John von Neumann are that he was called Jancy as a child, and when he moved to the U.S., he was called Johnny. The place where he got the von in the middle of his name is that it was a title his dad originally had, but he never changed his name to accept it. His son, however, did, so he became John von Neumann. The von is the German word for a certain thing that meant the title that he had. Although he studied chemistry, he talked to a lot of mathematicians such as Weyl and Euler, and he even lectured some of Weyl's classes while he went away for a little while. He taught his own classes until 1933. He was never really considered a great teacher because his thoughts and theories always went a little bit outside of what most people could grasp, and he didn't go slow enough for anyone to really understand what he was saying. And he had academies in both German and America until the Nazis came to Germany, and he completely moved all of his things to America. But it wasn't actually really because of the Nazis, it was just because he wanted to move his studies because he had more opportunities in America. He married his fiancée in 1929, and her name was Marietta Koveski. They had a child called Marina in 1936, but they divorced in 1937. The next year, he married Clara Dawn, who was also born in Budapest. They both liked parties, so there were a lot of parties thrown at their house. Some of his major accomplishments were that his first paper was co-written with a scientist called Fichte, who was his tutor from the first university that he went to. It was on mathematics, and it was published in 1922. His ordinal numbers definition was written when he was 20, and it's still used today. He was originally a visiting lecturer at Princeton in 1930, and he was moved to a professor in 1931. In 1933, he became the co-editor of Annals of Mathematics, and in 1935, he became the co-editor of Corporatia mathematician. He studied a lot of things about the self-adjoint algebras of bounded linear applications on Hilbert space, which he called the rings of operators, and a lot of other scientists called the W-star operators. F.J. Murray and himself laid out the algebra foundations for this concept. He came up with the game theory, which proved the minimax theorem, and he co-wrote the theory of game and economic behavior in 1944 with Oscar Morgenstern. He worked on logical design and computer sciences, along with cellular automata. He also advocated the byte, which is often used for computer memory measurement. He helped to create the hydrogen bomb, and he was in the Navy Bureau of Ordnance from 1941 to 1955. He was the consultant for the Los Alagons from 1943 to 1955. He was in the Armed Forces Weapons of Washington, D.C. from 1950 to 1955, and he was a atomic energy communist in 1955. He was appointed by Eisenhower. My self-reflection on my scientist is that he taught me a lot about that it's okay to do things not just for money, and you can do things just because you want to, and even if your parents would prefer that you did something that made money, you could follow your dreams and do whatever you actually wanted with your life. And also, even if you study one specific thing, you can branch out to a lot of other things just from that studying.